You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
Zoning Board of Adjustment to order. This not being a regular meeting of our board, we don't have minutes to go over or review. We don't have any of those perfunctory things that we do at a regular meeting here. Tonight we have a request for a motion for rehearing, that we're here to consider. For the record, Stefan, we have 4 out of the 5 board members here that made this, that were involved in this decision a few weeks ago. Brian Rogers being the 5th that is not present. For those of you who've not been through these before, we don't see too many motions for rehearing, to be honest with you. As I think that's because we have people doing good work back at Town Hall, and we've got a good set of staff that help prepare us. But at the same time, we're not rehearing the case tonight. We are, in essence, going over the information that has been provided to us in the request for the motion for rehearing. And this board our job tonight is to decide or to come to a conclusion of some sort as to whether the information that's been provided to us gives us enough information to, in essence, reset the clock and have a rehearing on this case.
Do you need to seat me as an alternate? I'm an alternate still, so do you need to seat me again?
Well, let's just do it for the record again, that Dave Ward is seated as an alternate and seated for this, as well as, again, as myself and Lisa, with Brian being absent. Do you have any comments, questions?
I'd like to know, Stefan, what the Planner's Dictionary says about professional business offices.
Gotcha.
Just control fine.
Whatever. Okay. Sorry to take this time.
No worries.
Thanks, Stefan.
Absolutely.
I didn't learn anything.
Okay, I was gonna say. My experience, and this is pretty clear from this point forward, is do we feel, does any member of the board feel that the information that we've been provided to on appeal tonight is rises to the level of having us go through a rehearing or not? Because if it doesn't, if we go through a rehearing, we'll basically reset the clock. We don't hear it tonight. We can move on to a regular schedule. We'll probably move on.
Sorry.
And if not, then let's, let's go where it goes from there, as we all know.
I'd like to hear from Lisa because she's the one who voted no. The three of us here, all three of us voted yes on this proposal. I'd like to hear what Lisa says.
Okay. I still feel the same as I felt at the last hearing. I am currently in agreement with the applicant's request for rehearing because I don't feel that this particular use fits professional and business offices. That's just my opinion. I don't feel the use fits that description. I think this particular use definitely fits a service shop or industrial park and probably should have had either the special exception or the variance. Should have been looked at under those headings. That's not to say that I'm for or against the businesses being there. I want more businesses in town. But I don't feel that this particular situation is done appropriately. In my opinion, if you're going to build a storage building, it's a lesser constructed building than, say, you might have to put more money into a building that's going to be a professional service shop or an industrial park. My thought of a storage unit is metal buildings that people go to once or twice a month, drop things off, picks things up. Not something that has regular employees in and out, in and out. So, in my opinion, it fits more under professional service shop or industrial park. So I still feel the same way I felt.
Comment?
I saw it as a number of storage facilities for contractors where they would have an office there. And many people, many different types of businesses could use it. And depending on what their needs would be for the office space, when they're providing professional services, they may or may not need to come to the planning board for additional relief, depending on what they're doing.
Right.
And that's the way I saw it.
And I looked at this sort of, I was thinking about the contractor who worked on my house. And I was thinking about, he had a place of business in, I never went to his place of business, but he had a place of business. And he would say things like, you know, if we need an extra window, I may have one on my lot or something like this. I was thinking about that. He was a contractor. He was involved in lots of things. He had things lying around his shop somewhere. And when I called him, he could be in his shop, he could be out of a job, whatever, but he had a home base. I was thinking of it as his home base. So I was thinking this as a place where someone like a plumber or a carpenter or whatever would have a home base, which I consider a home office, was my thinking, and that's why I thought this. The only sticky point for me is that something, you know, I think we have the right to decide what the use is in the context of what the proposal for the occupancy of the site is. But the question is whether we should, and whether or not this is it's up to the developer to actually apply. And if you look at it through that lens, this is what I'm struggling with. The developer applied for services.
As well as.
And that, the services that he applied for are, in my reading of the zoning ordinance, are not allowed. It's only retail services that are allowed in the zoning ordinance. So in that sense, the planning board erred in saying this was a use that didn't have to go to the zoning board first. If we were to consider this application as that, then we would have seen it as a request for a variance. It would have come to us as a request for a variance. And then we'd be having that discussion and not this. By us saying that this is professional business offices, we're doing their work for them, and their work is, what they would do if they met with the town planner and they decided what to apply for, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know if it's, our purview to do that, or, or whether we should. We should have them resubmit an application that comes to us, and we, as a variance, and we decide whether this is the right thing to go through there. So that's what I'm struggling with. And I confess that I could easily see either way. I could see saying that, because I do believe that this is more like an office space than it is any of the other things that are allowed in here, but is that really what they applied for? They didn't apply for business offices. They applied for services. So are we presuming something we had no right to presume? So I'm looking for guidance.
Well, that's a good point. And I guess I could see it both ways, but it seems like since the original applicant didn't know who was going to fill that space and what their particular needs may be, that's where we would have a baseline. That's why I believe that the planning board would review each individual applicant that wanted to use that space, and if what they needed rose to the level of needing an exception or a variance, then they would bring that to us. So I felt when I made my decision that gave them, that by right, that's their responsibility. But I do feel that services are, it is a professional, these people, in my view, like your contractor that you mentioned, and the people that have worked on my home or jobs that I've been on, that those are professionals that are doing those jobs. It's tough.
What do you think, Keith?
This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I think in a lot of ways, and it showed in our deliberations before.
Yeah.
Given what we were, I think, given what we had in front of us and what we understood this to be, I think we made it the best decision we could, given the information we had. And again, we don't have a whole lot to go on, because this is different. This is a different animal than what we've seen come through for sort of a typical multi-tenant application. By that I mean multi-use.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-use, which it could be.
Could be.
We've seen a lot of straight storage, and that's happening everywhere for reasons, and I think this one has certainly a whole different bent to it, which I'm not saying is good or bad necessarily. It's probably good if someone wants to put it together.
I like Ann's point that there's another place for the businesses to get reviewed, in the sense that they have to go to the planning board and maybe to the zoning board, depending on what the use is.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be someone who wants to use these spaces for something other than what would automatically be used.
There could be.
Have we left it open that way?
I think my feeling is I think we made the best decision we could with the information we had at the time that we made it. And I think we do need to leave that latitude open
Mm-hmm.
for the planning board to do its job.
So if somebody applies who's not a professional,
And they want to use the
and
storage.
they want to use the storage area, then they would have to have a variance because what's approved there is for professional offices. Is that what we're talking about?
That's,
I'm just trying to follow that through.
That's a good question.
well, I mean, the way I understood it, and maybe we do need to, is that the people using those facilities are contractors,
Mhm.
professional contractors with professional
In the service
certifications
professions,
in the
yeah.
service professions, providing a service. And I know, at least from a supply chain perspective, if you win a job, now, you might have, or you might win one 18 months from now, you need a place to order and store your equipment and the materials you're going to use for that job so that you can go on site and be effective. Contractors can't sit around and think they're going to be able to go to Home Depot for anything that they need anymore because it might not be there. The valves they need, the motors they need, they've got to get that stuff ahead of time, including those windows.
Yeah. You change your mind anyway?
No.
I love it.
Where I struggle to some degree too is the potential for fabrication of things, which,
That's, yeah.
And-
which, I mean, I don't think necessarily we have a way to brush across this whole thing to say that pretty much anything that needs to be fabricated, we've foreseen. And actually try to avoid things that are that create a problem 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years from now. And this doesn't fit any mold that we have. We also know it makes it kind of difficult. This
Yeah.
particular use doesn't fit a mold. And again, I'm not saying it's good
The
or bad.
potential is there for a vast array of different types of storage and professional services out of that facility. And all of them and any of them may not even be able to exist side by side, depending on what, there are obviously limitations on what type of materials can be stored in those facilities. That's already, we already have rules for that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Mhm.
So, and the way I see it is, I see that we made the best decision that we could at the time that we did, so.
And I'm, the two choices before me are to say we should have a rehearing because of what I'd like to do is just say that it's not the services that were applied for and leave it at that. Or the other one is to say that we don't have a rehearing and we leave it the way it is so that, and that still preserves the right of review for any business that were to come in. If we open it up for a rehearing and I wouldn't want to be the one who decided that it was an industrial park or a commercial activity. I would just simply say that what's presented before us is something that doesn't fit the zoning ordinance as it's written right now.
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't want to get into a rehearing in a sense because I don't want to explore that. I think we've already decided that we don't think it fits the definition of services. I think that's what you would have voted on and said yes to. If that was the only thing we voted on, you would have said this doesn't meet the definition of services. You voted, we were going to get to that third motion and we never got to it.
Right, that was the next, yeah, I was
And
voting for that one.
that one, I think you would have voted
I would
yes
have
on.
voted for that one.
So
Right.
the question really remains, do we continue to say this is what we think it is, or do we go through, because I think, I'm not sure there's a difference really between the more I'm thinking about it.
Is the decision that we made does the ability of the planning board to oversee any applicant remain? Anyone who wants to use that space, they have to talk to the town. And they go to the planning board, because that's how I understood it from the application.
As a multi-tenant,
Multi-tenant, that anybody who wanted to use that space would have to come and declare their use in front of the planning board. That's how I understood it.
I don't know.
That's,
Yeah, honestly.
Stefan, do you know?
That was my understanding, yeah. That was my understanding.
My
yes.
understanding is too. And of course, that wouldn't change if we changed it to industrial park or something like that, and that was approved, and they would still have to go before the planning board to do that. So it doesn't really matter, in some sense, it doesn't matter what we characterize it as. You know, some things are there by right, and some things aren't. So it may be that our characterization doesn't mean anything,
right.
in which case I don't think we need to have a rehearing.
Well, we have a kind of, someone wanting to take a motion? And the motion is whether or not we agree that we have enough information that's been added to us, given our information tonight, to rise to the level of a rehearing or not. It's relatively simple in a relatively complex case, so.
Well, I'll make a motion, and you guys can determine whether you like what my motion was.
We need a second.
So, with regard to ZBA 23-017, the appeal of Shari Howard of the planning board's decision regarding the use determined by the planning board in connection with its site plan review of the application of all-purpose storage Swanzey West LLC. With regards to the motion for rehearing, I do not believe that it rises to that level where we need to have a rehearing, and that's what I would move
Okay.
for.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, just to summarize that it's not level to the motions that the information we've gotten today does not provide enough ample or appropriate information to rise to the level of having a reader. And it's been seconded.
So just so we're clear, a vote for yes means there will be no rehearing.
That's correct. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Lisa?
Sure.
Well, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's very tough. Very tough. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything to require, I guess.
Now, do we have another meeting this month, Scott?
We do, don't we?
It's not on the town.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Do you know what day it falls on?
For the Valentine's Day?
No. The
My dad's
19th,
birthday.
the 19th or something? The 19th.
The 19th is the third.
It's President's Day.
It's President's Day, so it's a town holiday.
Yeah.
It's your holiday. Yeah.
So you won't be working?
Hell no. Hell no.
So the question is,
Do we have any cases in front of us?
Not that I know of. Granted, I was going for a week, so I'm still going through everything. But to the best of my knowledge, we have not received another case.
In which case, there's nothing.
no reason to
So
meet.
sort of a moot
Yeah.
point. If
Yeah.
that changes, you'll let me know.
Yes.
And we could try to reschedule another night or something like that.
I mean, if you guys want, we can do the 26th, but
We could set the meeting as 26 and make Adam and Wayne and.
that's true. Oh yeah, we could gauge where everyone is in terms of availability and then decide
I'm going to North Carolina in March,
in March.
Okay.
so I'll be on the Zoomer. I'll be doing the Zoom meeting for as long as I can.
Okay.
I may be down there for a long time.
Where can you go?
More than
Oh,
City.
yeah, we talked about Sunday mornings.
Yeah, my daughter, she works at a hospital half a mile away.
Entertain a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Thank you.
So did I hear you correctly that you're running for planning board?
Planning board, trustees of trust funds.
Supervisors of the